Hannah and. Right, okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
They stir up in a minute.
Like the angle of that camera, it makes me look really short. We're shorter than I already am.
Move your chair if you wish.
Yeah, I could move up. Yeah, I noticed that Virginia did that with her chair. No longer on this committee. Oh no. I think we have Colin. And Hannah. But not now.
How are you today?
Can't complain. How are you?
You're muted. I love your scarf, by the way. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Hannah's perfected the Zoom meeting look on camera.
Hi, Colin.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you. How are you all?
There's a bunch of meetings up here today, so sometimes it gets noisy in the one time. Okay. So, we'll get going. We'll start with the land acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect that we are in the Robinson Huron Treaty territory, and the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Mawatan. Mawatan is home of Garden River First Nation, Pachawana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Native Council. So is there somebody to resolve that we that the minutes of the November 20th, 2024 meeting of the Heritage Booklet and Tours Subcommittee be approved, and it would have to be Lise and Jamie. Yes. You're the only two present. Do I have a mover? Yes. I'll second it. And Jamie seconds it. All in favor? And the motion carries. Okay, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None noted. Okay, and approval of the agenda. Anybody can do that. Lise. And a seconder? Colin? And all in favor? That motion carries. Okay, so we've had a number of edits that have come in, and Josh, it took a little bit to get the software updated on his computer because he moved from one location to another. But they have them all set up with the software, and he's incorporated a lot of the edits in the draft that you received. I'm going to also bring that up on the screen. And we can start to kind of just quickly walk through the booklet and the layout. I don't want to spend, too much time doing edits, so everybody can maybe have a chance to go through and then send all of those edits in. But really looking at the main part of the layout, and then some of the other content. One of the big pieces we are gonna have to start now adding in is a lot of those photos that are gonna accompany it, and then deciding on how we want to display the maps. We do have a lot of new properties, so we'll be looking at maybe more than one map, just so that the maps don't become so cluttered when we create this booklet. So those are some of the big decision points today. I'm just going to bring up the booklet. Oops, sorry. Everybody, can you see that okay? So going to, and then did anybody have anything before we started kind of flipping through the pages right now, or we can address things as we go?
I have a list of questions, but we don't have to answer them now.
Yeah, I guess we can bring them up as we get to the pages.
Okay, well, like for example, there's no title page, so. Like this booklet had a title and an author and everything.
Yep. Okay,
Are we gonna do that?
we can. Those
I
are all,
will.
those are all things that are optional, so. Yeah,
Well, with the agreement, it's not up to me, but,
do you want to, actually, if you want to hold it up and make it.
oh, I'm sorry.
So Colin and, I don't know. if
I
just
know.
make it a little bit closer.
I brought extra copies
So
of the
in
book.
case you don't have a copy of
I
this
have one that's
booklet, there was a title page, I don't know if you see it, it kind of looked like that. So the inside cover was blank, and then there was a bit more about the production right on the front. So if everybody's in agreement, we can look at adding that in, and then also we should, as a lot of the original content was done by Linda Burge, we should make sure that we're recognizing her previous work as
I'd
well.
like her to rename the author, quite
Yeah.
frankly, because so
Yeah.
much of it is her original, and also the same title.
Yeah.
Because this title doesn't, it's not just historic properties, right? It's
Yeah.
plaques and everything, so. I mean, I actually like the original cover. I wondered whether we could do, like, could this be the second edition of the original booklet
Yeah, we can,
and use the same cover, maybe if that's still available?
yeah, I just have to find the artwork.
Okay.
Okay, so is everybody in agreement? Hold this up so you can see it better, see what we're talking about. That's the cover from the original booklet.
Yeah, I think considering it
So
a
is
second
everybody in
edition would be,
agreement to see if we can find that original artwork for consistency?
and I think,
Yeah,
Here.
this one too, I don't know, because we're gonna have to, this will end up being folded, so you'd end up having to have something that's more squared off
Yes.
anyway.
yeah, considering it a second edition would be definitely appropriate because I think
And this
the
one actually looks okay in black and white as well.
the changes aren't so substantive that it
Yeah,
constitutes
somebody
a
was printing it on a,
major change.
like on-demand printing, and they weren't using the color printer, it would still look okay.
I wonder if Kathy has the original artwork. So was there any discussion around that recommendation? Looks nice. Colin, Hannah,
Are you able to hear us?
sorry, we can't hear you, Colin.
It might be on your
Is it our audio or? Oh, it might be you, yes. Okay, hang on. I actually brought extra copies of the booklet, but that doesn't help you because you're on Zoom. So.
I'm just gonna stop the share for a minute. Can you hear us? Try again, Colin. Hannah,
Yep.
Wait, hear him earlier.
Can you hear me okay?
No, I was teasing her about her scarf and
I
her-
can hear you, Hannah.
I don't think I heard her speak.
okay, try that now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No.
Oh. I think it has to be on their end because I can hear you as well, Colin.
Well, let's see if this is working. Now try talking.
Testing, testing.
Oh,
yes,
there we
perfect.
go. Somebody,
The volume
the
was,
speakers were set up right, but the TV volume was shut completely down.
oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
that's
no
terrible.
problem.
Well-
I would have liked to be there in person today, but we're in the middle of a major exercise, so I'm on a pretty short leash.
There you go. Okay, so now that we can actually hear you guys.
I forget what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
did anybody have any questions about maintaining the original cover?
Yeah, I think it's I mentioned earlier when my when I was when my volume was down there. I think it's appropriate to have it as a second edition. The material is not being substantively changed. The core is very similar. It's an edits rather than rewrites, and I totally agree, recognizing the hard work that the original author put into us. Considering it a second edition is appropriate. That said, I think if we are calling it a second edition, it may be appropriate to have just a short paragraph detailing the nature of the changes that have been overall nature and theme of the changes that have been made. Something as simple as revisions for whatever the revisions are, basically, just to give some context as to why a new edition was made, etc.
Great, thanks, Colin. I had a look at the original. Thank you. Sorry. York State Marine. Guide to historic plaques and monuments in Sault Ste.
See, and this one just says heritage property.
You will get,
So,
that's easy enough to try to flip that around.
One of the big things that stood out to me on the PDF that you sent was the difficulty to read the text on the front image that you had there. So I am very okay with keeping the original artwork. I think that would be beneficial to the publication.
No, I think that's great, and I think it's nice for that consistency. Okay, we'll make those changes. Okay, so, and we're gonna add in a title page, consistent with the existing booklet. A short paragraph giving the overall context and nature of the revisions. So that will be an add.
yeah, maybe they could go on in the acknowledgement page at the back, where we're, because we're gonna acknowledge Tammy Johnson from
Yeah.
the original people who worked on this.
Yeah. Yeah, we
The
could,
graphic
we
design,
could-
Tammy and Josh, we could add as well. That could be all part of
Yeah.
the acknowledgement. Yeah.
Table of contents, anything, that's gonna keep the page numbers will keep changing as we make any revisions and add photos in and. Shifting that around. Okay, so on to page 4, I'll bring that back up again so you can see. Right. There you go, okay. So on. Nothing on 4, then we're on to. So as far as the main points here, again, noting that we'll probably have to do quite a few proofreads of this, it's everything fine with the layout, utilizing the symbols. Any major changes on here other than another proofread?
I did.
I mean, this-
Question. Oh, I'm sorry, did I?
Sorry.
All right, Hannah, go ahead.
It's just very minor, but just the formatting of the text at the bottom is centered and all of the other is towards the left. So that's like super minor formatting things, but that
On
just
page
jumped out at me.
5. Yeah, I see that.
Oh, yeah, they're not,
That happens
Center
on a
versus-
couple
yeah.
of pages, yeah.
Yeah.
So my question on page 5 is there's a box that's been added that was not in the original book. That says that bold italicized words indicate significant people, places, or events. The only place that text appears is on page 15. And I'm wondering whether we could drop that because it's just adding to the clutter on the page.
I don't think it's. I don't necessarily think that's necessary. Anybody else?
Well, it's scary that it isn't anywhere else in the book, and if we continue to do that, we're gonna miss somebody.
Yes.
So I'm nervous that as a consistency thing, that if it only appears on page 15, could we drop it?
I agree. It should either be done throughout or not done.
Because all of those names will be picked up in the index, right? So,
Would the names remain italicized or is it just the bolding that we're getting rid of?
well, I see that they're bolded, you're right. Oh, you think there's more names in here that are.
There's that and then on page 10.
Oh dear. I hope not. Well, as long as we can agree to not do that, we can look for that in the edits when we're going through.
So just on that point, do we want to either, I guess we have two options. Have them bold and italicized throughout the entire document or remove it altogether?
I think the simplest course of action is to remove it altogether. In my opinion, I think it's easiest to make the case that if they're in this document, they are inherently important, significant. And it makes it a lot easier to, I can foresee that it's almost an all or nothing because you could run into some difficulties where if you do bold and italicize one place or person and don't another, it becomes a bit of a value judgment as to who is and isn't important. So yeah.
Okay, that is great. So that will, and then as we go through the document, I'll make sure we know which ones we have to bring back to regular text.
So the image for the city crest, is that the same one we used the last time? Oh, no, it is not. So it has changed?
The city crest changed officially.
Yeah. Does it look bigger than the other?
It's probably similar. I can check to see if you can keep the aspect ratio the same, if the old stone house could be a little bit bigger.
It's quite dark as well, or make that bigger. Actually, they're working on new branding as well, so that might change.
I don't know if that logo is gonna go anywhere though. I think the logo might stay,
Oh,
but
but
the
that
rest
will
of the
remain for the
branding
municipal
will.
heritage.
Yeah.
Okay, could the wolf be that way, as the way it was in the other book?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have one comment while we're on page 4 and 5. I do like the symbol indicators for sort of classifying each. My one as a just trying to look at this from somebody who is unfamiliar with the Sioux, might be picking up this book for the first time. Based on the way that each of these little boxes are written, it does slightly give the impression that these symbols may actually be on the buildings themselves. For example, if they're on a walking tour, etc., they might actually be looking for like a leaf. Yeah, so very simple, like wording change in it just making it clear in each of those blocks that the symbol is on the entry in the booklet.
Yeah, if you go back to the original booklet, the sentence that begins, "Look for the maple leaf," It was not in the original booklet, so I think we could maybe just take out that whole sentence. Because the next line says historic sites in line with the word of Canada, which is. Yeah, maybe we could just put back the wording from the original booklet.
Yeah, the ones where all the provincial plaques do have the trillium. And do all the federal plaques have the maple leaf in that format, or is it?
Looking that up right now.
I guess this is, oh, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hannah.
I'm not sure if this is a silly question or not, but who is the intended audience for this book? Is it local people or is this a tourism thing?
I think there's two parts, so they, we have given them out to schools, they've been given out during Heritage Week, Doors Open, other events.
Right.
Kathy does give them out to tourists at the Old Stone House. So they would be publications that we could be able to provide to, potentially visitors that are coming to the zoo, to the museum, Bush Plain, HEA, like different locations like that.
Right, right.
Is some during the, I've participated in James walks where these are handed out as well. And walking towards the Queen Street, so they are a great local resource.
But
Yeah, like I'm just wondering about the wording there. Like I fully agree that maybe taking out that sentence would be wise, just because it does. Like I think the implication that it's the symbol in the book is there if you take that sentence out.
Yeah.
But I would be worried about confusing people who aren't familiar with the buildings, with the plaques, with the city itself.
yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't think the wolf is on the actual plaques.
No, I think
So-
it's used
No.
because it's Wolf Week and Discovery Week and all.
Yeah,
that.
so I think maybe changing the wording because.
I'm not even changing it, but putting it back to what Linda had in the first place.
I think as long as it's clear that the symbols themselves only pertain to the booklet, or are all like only used for understanding the booklet, that's the important thing.
I agree.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Also, one more little minor formatting thing as well.
Sure.
The symbols are on opposite sides. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but on page 4 and page 5. So I think keeping that consistent, having it either just on the right side or just on the left side.
Well, then, I personally like it on the left side, but
Yeah.
that's
I
up
like
to
the
you.
way and here in the book,
Yeah.
in the original booklet, that there's a large, like an indent of the text. Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard.
Oh, that's easy enough to do.
Okay,
No, that's great.
thank you. Yeah, no, that's.
Okay, so before we move on, just to quickly summarize, I'm gonna shift the logos. So that everything's on the left-hand side of the page, we're getting rid of the bold, italicized comment. And then we're gonna go back to the original wording, so we're not confusing people if they're looking for the logos out. When they're looking for the plaques. And just making sure everything is left justified and not centered.
I think there was also changing the wolf to the original.
Flipping the other way.
Oh, yeah, flipping the wolf.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, on to. The timeline, okay. There's a typo in timeline.
Oh, there's typos
But-
throughout the book.
yeah. Yeah, and whatever those typos are, when you find them, note the page number and we'll start incorporating all of those in. As far as any maybe typos and stuff, anything as far as layout of this timeline?
No concerns from my end.
I'm just going to jump in with a graphic design standpoint again. The burning between the text and the lines isn't consistent throughout. So that will have to be adjusted, but otherwise I don't really see any issues.
The timeline was not in the original booklet and, yeah, there's some, I'm actually not in favor of including the timeline in this booklet, but I may be a minority on that one, and I would, there's some wording that I'm still concerned with,
Yeah.
but it's better than it was.
Okay.
Seriously better than it was.
Any other thoughts about keeping or Colin and Hannah, you don't have copies of the original booklet on hand, eh?
I don't have one physically in my hand, but I know I have one at home.
Okay, Colin, maybe we can get you one somehow. I can see if, what I could do.
I can
Is-
deliver one after this meeting.
I think Colin's out of town.
Oh, are you? I'm sorry, Colin, you're.
I can, have it scanned and sent to you. It actually, you know what? I think it's actually on the city's website possibly. But I'll send you the link so
It
that you
is
can
on the
actually see
internet
the
somewhere.
original. And
But
then
it
that way
used to
you
be on the
can
internet.
have a comparative of what it is.
Your copy.
Cause I think to Jamie's point, I think if we're trying to do it as a second edition. I think that discussion is there, whether we wanna add it or just leave it out right now.
Well, there, in an earlier discussion of this timeline, well, never mind. There's some. I find that it started out as in graphic design terms, it's a great idea, and I originally liked it, but now there's too much text. And more text gets added to clarify something that needs to be clarified, and I'm finding it's just becoming really loaded with issues for me, but I'm prepared to admit that I have the same concern about QR codes. So it could be my age, right, that I just don't get it, and I'm okay with that. If I'm the only one who feels that way, that's. But I think the whole idea of QR codes and whatnot is loaded with issues as well, so. And which we don't have to talk about right now, but anyway. But it's better than it was. But in the record, so.
We can sit on that one and come back to it. Okay, on to. So here's pages 8 and 9.
So the red text up here. Replaces. The
So-
black text, right?
What? Yeah, so he's tried to track the changes. So
Okay,
what Josh did was the recommended changes that came in, he put them in red text so you could know what was changed from previous versions.
that helps. And on page 9, we have the issue that the text is not left justified, but that's easy to fix.
Yeah.
That probably comes up. Very good. My original concern. Earlier, months ago, was the spelling of the word "rewarding," and I noticed on the next page. Josh is spelling it. With the right number of A's, and I'm wondering if we want to standardize that or get an opinion. On how that, like my spelling of "rewarding" follows Dean Sayers' spelling. That we had in my calendar 3 years ago. But if you're able to consult
Yeah,
and
right.
find the answer to that. As long as it's consistent, I can, Colin might actually have a reference for that as well, because Parks Canada probably has that issue come up.
We can get that done.
Okay.
Any other comments, thoughts?
So to explain to Colin and Hannah, a lot of the red text you're seeing is text that I transcribed from the original booklet and brought back because it was missing from an earlier version. So that That's why it would be helpful if you had the original booklet with you, because
Yeah, so
we're
if you-
flipping back and forth between the two.
So the red text, so under Legacy of the Rapids, the 2 paragraphs of red text would replace the paragraph in black.
Understood.
Okay,
Yeah, so we wouldn't be doubling up. It's just Josh was trying to show what those changes were so that we could see them a little bit more clear when we went through this process.
so just another question, this might be, again, another silly question, but the graphic at the bottom of the Legacy of the Rapids, is that a logo for something? Is there a particular reason why that's there?
That was, so when they were, the original drafts had some of these icons added in. They just haven't, so those are all up for discussion as far as. I think what the thought, when the initial discussion started to happen before, was trying to look at implementing some symbols to quickly draw people's attention, but
Right,
shifting to try to make sure that it's a second edition, we may want to drop some of those. Yeah, so again, those are all items up for discussion right now.
The crane, oh yeah, well, there's a lot, yeah.
I mean, I'm personally not a huge fan of the wave.
Yeah.
But
It does look like a wave.
Yeah.
It's also taking up a lot of space
Yeah,
on
I
the
would
page.
rather see the picture.
Yeah.
Of
The
the.
bigger
Bigger.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
the center.
Yeah, and with losing some of that text, we will be able to do larger photos.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, center the photo and have a cap, are we getting money?
All right, I will get that removed.
Then I don't know, but on page 9, so I know there are different logos, but do we wanna continue keeping the 3-circle logo on the left? And then the map on the right? I know we're not talking about the same logos, but. Just
What
these,
page is
that one here, the circles,
Right,
have it on the
Oh,
left,
these guys?
just switch the map and it doesn't need to be, but
No.
just because we have all the other logos on the left.
We're not.
I know they're not the same logos,
Yeah.
but
No, fur trade missionaries and food source. Hmm.
and is that important to have? Those 3
I don't,
symbols?
I'm not sure.
do they show up anywhere in the book, or is that just representative of that page?
I think it's representative of that page, so I don't know, like if we're, I think keeping from a consistency standpoint, we may want to.
Yeah, probably. We're gonna make it order on the page.
Okay, if any other, and everybody will have time to.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that you didn't get the version until a little bit later, so you'll have time to kind of go through and take your time looking at it, maybe making other suggestions and edits. This will just give us some stuff to work on in the meantime. All right, 10 and 11.
The same thing with the white fish and the crane. What is this? What's?
Oh, I think it was just a tip. And I think where
Oh,
some of
tip.
these,
Were you speaker or lecture?
order,
Origin.
it's just basically she defined it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and I think those are, you see a lot more of that, say on an interpretive panel, I would think, right? When you're
Okay.
doing. Depending on what level you're writing to, right? So. I mean, we've had to change a lot of the way that we write council reports into simple language so that it's. At a different grade level and not say like a grade, 12
Oh,
university
sure, yeah.
level to write
Yeah,
to a grade 9.
readability, yeah.
9 level from a readability standpoint.
Mhm.
So I think that's where she was coming from, that, some of those words may not be. So trying to explain what it is, right?
Yeah,
But, is it necessarily for the book, or would it be something that we would utilize, say, on an interpretive panel on the waterfront where parents are taking their kids or something? One of the questions, John, that we had was just, how do we want to source all the imagery? So we have to put source, so he has at the top formatting question, how do you want to caption source images for consistency?
Right,
So we just need to pick a format and make sure that we utilize it throughout.
yeah, if, I ran into that with a couple of pictures from the art gallery where they claim copyright.
Mhm.
And they dictate what the caption says quite lengthy.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be 2 examples of that in this booklet.
Was there anything else on 10-11?
Not for me.
I think it's just addressing the graphics, but again, that can be a further discussion down the road.
So on to 12-13.
So the,
Anything on those pages?
I think for both consistency and in terms of not just having blocks of text, this may be one where it may be useful to have a sort of an image that's perhaps cropped horizontally to fill in that white space in the bottom right.
Oh, on an instance of the, on the page 13?
Correct.
Yeah. Some type of photo. Okay, let's see what this is.
the frontier settlement text looks a lot longer than what was in the original booklet. I might go through that and figure out what got added. Because I'm just looking at it and thinking, why is it so long?
Was it spread out on 2 pages?
No, it isn't.
Yeah, you want to take a look.
Yeah,
See where that
I'll
changes.
make a note, thank you.
Hey, on to, we're got about 25 minutes left, so
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. No.
I
No, this is good because then we can start
can
to
keep
work
you
on
here
this.
till 5 o'clock.
So moving page 14 to page 9.
To page 9. There's
There was a request.
actually on page 14. That to page 9. I don't remember what that request is.
There was multiple edits coming through, so.
Like,
Let's park that one, because that could
Yeah.
end up in a really lengthy discussion, and then everybody will have a little bit more time to take a look at it.
these icons were not in the original book.
No.
So that's one consideration. I did have a thought that I didn't say out loud that this table of contents doesn't match the order that was in the original booklet. And the original booklet kind of flowed chronologically. So the one like Legacy of the Rapids in the booklet came before people of the First Nations. And the Industrial Revolution came before, lest we forget. So we could have a philosophical discussion about whether the table of contents needs to match the original booklet. So it'd be 8 and 9 and 13 and 14 that are in the wrong, that need to be flipped, but that's an easy fix, because it doesn't take up any more pages. And we might have, well, anyway, yeah,
Okay. We'll take a look at that.
okay,
We're gonna keep Josh busy.
poor Josh. this is the page that has the bold.
Yeah.
So we're taking that, okay.
yeah, I made a note of that.
And then we come to the map.
Yeah, so once we finalize all the layout, then the map will probably be one of the last things that we build out to make sure that our numbers are matching up to where we want them to go to. So yeah, so now we're into each of the locations, so.
So the first half of this, the numbered section are the plaques and monuments. And the entries later in the book that are letters are the buildings. And there are two separate sections now, which is, and they kind of flow, this section flows chronologically.
Yeah, and I do know, there are, might have switched them. There were some referenced points in here that we needed to update, so like I would say like, right beside the Royal Bank or
Oh,
right
yeah,
beside
yeah.
the, because it was
Yeah.
naming the actual like the building, not the address, so for some of those changes that have happened downtown, some of them weren't relevant.
Well, and the Algoma Conservatory is now, the clerk general office building is now Algoma Conservatory.
Yeah, that's had a lot of names.
Yeah.
It went from Abitibi to St. Mary's Papers.
Oh, dear. Page 20.
So as far as some of these other pages. Well, the wolf will have to get flipped all the way throughout, so that'll be,
Yeah, it's an easy fix.
and then really now we need to start adding in photos where possible.
Yeah, there's a Google Drive for that, right? That we share, should we be adding Colin and Penny to the Google Drive? Or not?
Do we have?
There was a Google Drive, I was uploading pictures to it. You telling me that's not the right one? We better check that.
They're out there somewhere.
Oh dear. Okay.
So yeah, so once you've had a chance, I know you didn't get this version until a little bit later. You haven't really had time to kind of dive in with some evening reading. So aside from, is there any other concerns kind of about layout? It's gonna be a bit of a puzzle as you try to best fit them on the pages and add the photos in.
Yeah, I think we may have to be flexible with the possibility of increasing or decreasing the page count a little bit to
Yeah.
make sure that we're using our space most effectively. But
Yeah,
that could be an opportunity rather than a setback.
yeah, and I think we'll definitely have to play with that. It is gonna impact the pages a bit, just because you don't want it to be so small that there's no value in the picture, right? Through. No water. No water. That's changed.
Oh, I thought we fixed that already. Oh dear, okay.
That's the original text that'll,
The fountain was connected to the municipal water system.
and then we'll just put until. Pardon?
Or we could say the fountain is no longer connected to the municipal water. I don't know.
I'm gonna
Or just take it.
I'll get the.
Yeah, good
points on that.
I thought we fixed that already. Okay, that's funny. Oh. So on charter conventional air services number 40. So that's the Yellowbirds one. That's the one that we added from Gordon.
What page are you
on page 31.
Oh, from that one, or too far. There we
So
go.
that's the one that Gordon Pym added. About the Yellowbird.
Yeah.
And then we have another building designation that's municipal. Just like in the other section. Because the hangar is designated. Okay.
Any? Passion. Wait.
Oh, there we are, okay. Oh, the passenger and packet freighter one, yeah.
That is new. And then in here would be the map of the heritage buildings, so we're on to this section, which is all the heritage properties.
Oh, so you're gonna have two now.
We'd have to,
Oh,
It would
okay. Oh,
literally-
good.
yeah,
That's, Josh and I talked about a problem that we're coming up to, that what do we do when we start running out of letters? Cause like it's all
Yeah.
used at the end, so is it like do we continue,
well, we could,
how do you do it, like do you number, I don't know, I
we
mean,
could,
Josh,
now's the time to switch, right?
yeah.
Right, because, I mean, you can have. It's two maps, so there would be two,
It'd be easier to do it numerically than just continue with letters. That's a good point. Yeah, Josh and I had thought, we had thought of doing like A or A1, A2, A3, but that would be messy as well.
yeah,
So going numerically would work.
what are your thoughts, Colin and Hannah?
I think so. My thinking is that I'd need to see it on a map, but it should be reflective of the order in which they would be attended in a walking in the walking tour most sensibly.
Yeah, and I think we might have to. You have them in alphabetically,
I'm
What
not
order?
sure, I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, wait, Barnes Carnation. Johnson, no, they're not alphabetical. Are they geographic? Oh, God, where's A? Oh, the,
yeah, no, they're not, they bounce around, so like you go from,
so A is,
you go from the conservatory to the Barnes block to Hussey block. to
oh, so they are
Clausen.
geographic.
But they're not in, because then you would go back to the machine shop in Herrick Street. So some of them are close together, but then they start bouncing around, right?
Oh, okay, they started out probably. Yeah,
But
that,
there's been a bunch of stuff that's been added in, so we'll have to
yeah,
shift
that's
them
an
back.
interesting idea of the geographic order.
Yeah,
I like that.
well, cause then you're,
And then you're starting from the older part of town, right?
Well,
You're starting from the, yeah.
or you could work your way backwards, right, if you started over this way, but then at least to your point. If you started at the machine shop, you could get all of the machine shop, the
Oh,
canoe law,
all the
the-
canal buildings.
yeah. Start there and then you work your
Oh
way
my
down
God.
towards the old.
So
circle.
Josh can just rejig the whole second half of the.
Well, I think from what I gather, everything that's in the box, you can.
Yes.
Group that box, drag and drop.
Oh.
So start to shift them around between there,
Oh, I
so.
love that idea, Colin, Colin's hand is up, sorry.
So my other concern with using the alphabet for these ones is that we have more than 26 entries.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. There's some very, we're gonna have like ovals to fit all the letters in.
Oh,
So I think we probably have to shift to numbers again.
Yeah.
Unless you
So
have another-
one potential option is, like, it's not pretty, but it's practical, is alphanumeric. So the first ones are, the ones that are presently numbered could be A01, A02, A03, et cetera, some sort of letter number code, and then the ones that are currently alphabetic would also become alphanumeric. They'd be, B or whatever letter we thought was appropriate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera. Just one option.
that would help out in the index, Virginia, because the index is gonna refer back to the number, not the page.
Yeah.
So this, if we leave. This section with buildings could be B1, B2, B3. First half.
They have a combination of letters and numbers in here,
I know,
and they're alphabetical.
well, they are in the index, yeah. So these are,
If
What-
we,
these are not page, the other option is to put the index with page numbers and not.
what if you? So one is plaques and one is buildings,
Plaques and monuments.
plaques, monuments,
What
and
does it say?
heritage.
Guide to the historic plaques and monuments.
So would you do like P1 for plaque? And then-
monument. Or just do all.
I don't know. We could play around with that.
Are they
Put some
all-
thought into that and then come back to it to the next meeting, because that's we're a ways away before we actually have to build the map out, so. I think we've got
Yeah.
some time in,
It'll probably
now
be
and
the
then to
last
kinda-
meeting, cause we also have to do the index have to match,
and we have to get them in the right order.
and they have to be. So these guys originally, well, you'll see it when you see the booklet, it started with Legacy of the Rapids, and then it had one. Plaque, and then it did People of First Nations, and it had two plaques. And then the fur trade one. Is all mainly the wolf stuff, like, so it's chronological because it's flowing with the. With the text, but in this booklet. The narrative and the text. Is not. Adjacent. You know what I mean? So
See
in
if it-
fact,
yeah.
St. Mary's River is not even. Is St. Mary's River the first? Very good. That's what we get. See that, the kind of was better when the entries flowed after the. Oh, and it starts with a map. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, each section
It starts with
started
the
with
map?
its own map. So
Okay.
there's a map.
I
to
don't
match.
mind that, yeah, and it starts with the St. Mary, so I think, this may not be too bad if. Except that there might be a handful of monuments, but we could just sort of ignore those and go with the letter P. Cause they're mostly plaques.
Yeah, so I think we can think, everybody can kind of think about that, what seems to make the most sense, and then we can kind of. Come back to that. We still
Yeah.
got some time to make that kind of decision. So before. The plaques might be a little bit work, do we want to, from organizing the heritage property so that he can start to shift them around? Do we want to do them in a walking tour order, which makes somewhat the most sense as you move, say, from. Machine shop area. Over towards the east. And then, we are gonna end up bouncing around a bit, because you start to go up to Herrick and then you start to drop down up to Neil McGregor. Buchan House will always be a little bit off on its own, and then you've got that big gap until you get out to Algoma. But we'll start to organize them in here in that order, if everybody's good with that, because that's gonna take a little bit of playing around. Okay, and then. That'll give, while we start to pull those around. Then that'll give everybody some time to take a read through, see what other suggestions, so. If you have suggestions, what I'll do is, if you wanna send them to me, I'll start to compile them into the next round of edits. And we'll create a tracking document and then just put all those edits that everybody sent in. So that at the next meeting, I can include that attachment as part of the agenda package, saying here's the 35 edits that we received and incorporated in, and we'll go through the same process where we'll put them in a separate color as they came through as well, so everybody can see the changes. Does that sound fair?
What's the best way for I've only made it to page 15, I think, earlier today, but just for like I do have a number of I've been a copy editor in the past and have so I do usually I maybe have too good of an eye for really small stuff, but just
Oh,
small
no,
stuff
that's
like
what we need.
addition of commas where like grammatically appropriate. What's the best way to, because I'm gonna have like 1,000 by the by the end I make it, maybe not 1,000 but several by the time I make it all the way through. Is there a good way to convey that without becoming annoying?
What's the easiest for you, Colin?
Well, if um what I've just been doing right now is highlighting it in the PDF copy that I have.
Perfect.
I've been doing that too.
Yeah, that works. If you want to just highlight it in the PDF copy and then just flip that over.
Okay.
And yeah, I think we've got lots of good stuff covered there too. And Hannah's got her graphic design eye for all those other pieces as well. So I think this is with everybody's input, I think we're gonna get to a really good end product.
Yeah, agreed. And we're working from a really good base to begin with. Like this is a fantastic document to begin with. It's so I'm looking forward to. I'm glad that it's getting a little bit of polish.
Yeah, I'm excited that we're getting an updated version. So this is very exciting because it is a great tool, and you know we do give it out to visitors, and we have them at other places. We have them at Bonder Marina, so that any of the people coming in are able to, you know, because they're always looking for things to do when they come to the zoo at the marina. So it's a nice point for you know, the community there. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Question about the little icon, like for example, I'm looking at page 54, but you've got 57 up on the screen. So those little icons that are like I have one here, the courthouse is question mark.
oh,
So one is, the first one is the address.
Yeah, so I think what Tammy did, she had that's a little point that you use when like on Google when you're searching for an address.
Oh, a pin like on
Yeah,
the
that's
map.
your pin on the
Okay.
map. The calendar represents the date it was designated. And then I think what she's got there, she's got like a little symbol for architectural style.
Oh, that's what it dated was
Yeah.
designated. Okay,
Yeah,
because
and
I
then
got
the
confused
architectural
about
style,
that
so-
earlier, whether it's date it was designated or the date it was built.
Date it was designated.
Oh,
So yeah, and then when you get into the description, it talks about when it was built. So that's the actual
Oh, okay.
designation date.
and could we,
And again, you know, are we duplicating, the style, right? So like if you're looking at, let me go over it.
there are some that we don't know the architecture style.
It wasn't, I'd have to it probably is referenced in the designation report. It didn't make it into the summaries for some reason. Probably sometimes it was just the, you know, when they were writing it, trying to control, it's hard
Oh,
to
yeah.
like really get down to
Yeah, the
short.
courthouse doesn't have an architectural style, and the bucket house, for example, doesn't either. Or the machine shop. The machine shop is Romanesque, isn't it? It's one of those,
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I don't,
So you may end up seeing the duplication then, right? Because if we're looking at Precious Blood, it says Gothic or Bible style, it is highlighted here as well. So that may be something that we want to think about if we want to have that addition in or out.
it might be easier to. take it out.
Thoughts on that?
If we leave it in, we're more likely to make a mistake with it. In my opinion.
I'm
I
not
would say
opposed
that
to it, but I do think there are some people that are, you know, architecture nerds, for lack of a better word, who may like to see it identified. But
Well, including Hannah's dad, so.
Yeah, we might,
Yeah.
for anything missing, Hannah, we might have to get your dad to weigh in.
Yeah.
that's okay. I'm sure he's happy to help.
Every family dinner, you'll be like, hey, what do you think of this architecture style of this property?
I would say for practical use, I guess, like if it's in the description currently, leave it in the description, but if it's not, or if it's not, if it's a mixture of styles or something, I would say leave it out. Um, yeah, but I mean, if there's any questions or whatever, I can always harass David for that if he
Okay,
has any information to provide.
well, and if we're
Yeah.
not sure, we can leave it out, right? If it's a question mark, we'll leave it out, like the Dawson blog, for example.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he wrote a number of the designation reports. So, okay, great.
Okay,
I think that gives us a chunk to work on until the next meeting, so I'll do the same thing, I'll send out another doodle poll. And we can try to land on another date that works for everybody.
okay.
Okay, so, yeah, so I just need so the next meeting will do a doodle poll, and I just need a motion to adjourn. Please. And Hannah, thank you, thanks, everybody, I really appreciate all your help. Oh, and all in favor? Oh,
Yes.
yes. Nobody's opposed to that. Thank you so much, and yeah, have a great day.
You as well. Thanks, folks.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Colin, thanks, Hannah.